Good evening. I thought I'd do another drive with Dom. This is Monday's practice night and the very first heat. We haven't been on track for quite some time, not since the last league, at least in my case, which was sometime in June, and it's now, September-ish, September 8th, in fact. There's 16 of us on track, and this being the first heat for us at 8 p.m., it is about as cold a track as I have ever experienced. So it's quite a bit of a slip and slide, which was very, very entertaining. However, I thought everyone did quite well. We have a mixed group of drivers division-wise. There's some D1 people and people from basically a variety of different divisions, right? There's no division separation in practice. So directly in front of me is Robert Giardini in car 24, and Robert and I kind of drive together most of this heat. It's an interesting heat, like I said, because it's really slippery, which makes it really challenging for everyone involved, and also makes it very difficult to, put down a good lap time. The other thing is, with 16 of us on track of mixed skill, there's quite a bit of traffic and quite a bit of chaos. And I think what we get here is a pretty classic example of kind of the secret to doing fast laps at Supercharged in time trial is to not battle. So in other words, to recognize when someone is faster than you and let them by you, or when you need to back off. And unfortunately in this heat, I don't think Robert and I ever really get clear track, try as we might. But hopefully we can all learn something from our excitement here. So anyway, I believe we'll be starting our first lap here. So Robert's tail kicks out, and I say, please let me up front, and he lets me go, and I hear him smashing into the wall behind me, and off we go. So there's a lot of push going uphill, and then there's a lot of push here. Watch how much I slip to the left, all the way down the blue stripes there, which you don't want, but I'm able to sort of hold it together there. And here I'm aware that I got to take speed off to hold this, and I do. Somebody goes around, and I slow down, obviously. And I'm able to sort of push my way through here. There's a lot of wheel adjustments because the front end is really pushing. So lap 1 there, if I'm not mistaken, is at 52.464. Thus endeth sort of the clear laps for a bit, because we come right on some traffic. And I'm still going to slide far to the left. Still don't have grip. Oops. I back off. Being cautious through here because I don't know if someone's going to slide. I'm able to get by, but Robert uses the opportunity to duck under me, and I've used the opportunity of him making a hole to tuck in behind him, so he and I now have what appears to be clear track, and that was lap 2 with a 54.657. So let's see what Robert has in store for us. He turns in earlier there than I would. And he too is washing wide. I'm washing a little bit less wide now. Managed that pretty well. Down here, he's really going super wide around that. He's missing both apexes, which is probably a function of the track being really slippery, and also maybe his approach is to be wide the first apex and get the second apex. Here I'm still trying to find grip because it's a very tight turn, so I'm do a little zigzag there to create some distance and warm up my track, my tires a little bit more. Lap 3 was a 51.87, so we had a decent run there. Now he's got a good lead ahead of me, which looks promising for us to be able to get a good head of steam going. He's wide off the second apex there, so he's definitely not taking the first, and he's getting his kart turned well to the second. So it looks to me like his plan is to focus on the second apex back there. A little bit narrow of a line through there, and you can see he doesn't have the space to make it through, so he bounces off the wall. So this is lap 4, which is a 50.915, which was about as clear as we're going to get. Yeah, so there he pushes kind of wide, which unfortunately allows me to close up more than I'd like. And now we're back to dealing with traffic. So I'm going to follow his lead and hopefully get a hole. And works out okay, ultimately, but we've got somebody who spun. And now we've got a ton of traffic. So Robert is well ahead of me now, trying to make his way through. I've got clear track, so I'll probably catch up to them pretty quickly. And this would be, I believe, lap 5, which is slower, 52.154. But as it stands right now, we've got some pretty decent separation. But I am closing quickly. And it looks like, to me, Robert has already made his way through, or he's made his way at least past the first guy. And he's making his way past the second guy right now. He jumps into the lead. I tuck in, or try to tuck in. I'm being cautious at this point because, like I said, it's super slippery and I don't know what these guys are going to do. That gentleman goes too narrow, which causes the cart behind him to have to slow down. Alright, so this is going to be a slow lap, and I still haven't untangled myself here. So that's, I believe, lap 6, which is 51.783. Alright, there's my opportunity to get past cart 1 of 2. But I think now we've caught up to another cart as well. So I'm just trying my best to not run into anyone and look for openings like that, which doesn't quite work out. I back off, take the inside, nope, let him go. Okay, this is getting weird. So now there's, I think, 2 cards or 3 cards between me and Robert, and this has turned into a bit of a mess. So there is no flagging going on, and one of the things that I think needs to happen in time trial for sure is finding space, getting out of each other's way. And that's not really happening here, which is sort of to be expected, I guess, in practice. But I'm going to, at some point here, decide to let these guys just take off into the sunset, which in fact I do right now. So off you go. Feed another cart to the monster, let them battle it out, and hopefully maybe I can create some distance here to get some clear track and maybe get a lap down. And so far it's looking promising. There is that one cart ahead of me. It looks like the other group is pretty far ahead. Not sure what lap this is, but we'll begin this lap on a promising note. space between me and the guy ahead, space behind me. And we've got a problem right there. That slows down car 21 a lot. So now I've completely closed up to 21. And I gotta get by him somehow. He's a little slower through there, so I'm kind of nudging him along. Oh boy, and now we're catching the people ahead of us as well. And he has to dump speed, therefore I have to dump speed. Oh, and then we've got somebody spun in the middle of the track. And another lap that isn't going to work out. But on the plus side, it did create some separation between me and the carts ahead of me. So maybe this will work out. So the cart ahead washes wide. Looks like we've got a hole for him to get through. But they're battling, which probably shouldn't be doing. What we need to be finding is space in a pecking order, kind of. That's not happening. So in their battles, they run wide. At least I'm able to get by, and then I kind of indicate, hey, let me go, which he does let me, which is nice. And now I just have to close on this fella and find an opportunity to pass him and see if I can catch back up to Mr. Giardini up ahead. Oops. And he lets me by. So, do I have clear track? Kind of. I'm not sure who this is ahead of me, but I don't think it's Giardini. Nope. The fellow spins out. Now I've got what looks like clear track. So in theory, here I can get a lap down. Slow across the start finish because of the spin, but we'll take what we get. And already back up to traffic. Looks like I'm closing very, very, very wide. Wide again, but that gives me the ability to get under. Thank you. Alright, so I think Giardini, who appears to be one of the faster drivers out tonight, has caught up to the people ahead of him. Somebody spins, which slows him down, me down a little bit, and looks like we're down to the last lap, or the second to last lap, depending upon when the timing stops. So my fastest lap for this session is going to be lap 12 with a 50.362. Maybe this lap, but probably isn't. I do get the ability to get under there without getting slowed. But it looks like everything gets unglued right here. And honestly, I have no clue where we are in the lap order. So this... Alright, so everyone is going by, which is good. I probably should have just lifted and sat there, but I can see the yellows blinking, which means at some point here they're going to send us home. So I guess this is our last lap. So this might be the 50.362 lap 12. But as you can see, it's very, very flawed because we've got a lot of sort of managing stuff going on around us. and that's it. So, yeah. So kind of an interesting heat in that it was A, very, very slippery, and B, a complete mess. Like, no one ever found their spot, as it were. So, ideally what you want is after 4 or 5 laps to have sort of the field spread out in a way that makes sense, right? Where drivers of similar ability are kind of stacked up, or carts of similar speed are getting spaced out. So over time, it usually will end up where everyone's got room to move, but it does require cooperation. It does require people to say to themselves, okay, somebody's on my butt, they've tippy-tapped me, I should just let them by. Or or flagging, or both. But in this case, there's no flagging going on, and people are fighting a little bit. You can see that there's guys diving into the corner narrow instead of just saying, screw it, I'll just lift and let this guy take the corner ahead of me and focus on getting, a good run and not having anyone in my way. So, again, with 16 carts on the track, and a very, very slick track, that didn't work out. So I ended up doing, like I said, my best lap was apparently lap 12, 50.362, but, obviously that wasn't the last lap that we looked at. So the timer must have kept going. In any case, we do 4 other heats tonight. The next heat is also 16 carts on the track. And then after that, the group starts dwindling. And by the last couple of heats, there's just 8 or 10 of us. And we start getting faster and faster and faster. And by the end of the evening, by the third heat, I believe, we're running in the 47s. So this was a 50 in the first heat, and then in my next heat, I win that one with a 48.08. And then from there, heats 3 through 5 are all 47s. 47.4, 47.9, and then 47.4. And I think Shiva set the fastest of the night with a 47.0 at some point. So it took, I would say, 2 heats for us to get the carts and the track kind of warm, and then the last 3 heats we get going. But, I guess the one takeaway from this session would be don't bunch up, don't fight, if people aren't letting you by, back off, which I tried. But it was just a little too all over the place in this. So maybe we'll come back and do another drive with Dom on one of the faster heats, because I've got some good heats where I'm chasing El Jefe, and, we have good back and forth and all that good kind of stuff, and manage to get through traffic well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and talk to you guys later.